We can do all things together through Jesus.
Good evening, Forever Family. Tonight we're going to be discussing the challenge of learning to live alone. In Steve's material, we're going to discuss a number of different times in our lives when that challenge may come up, when we start college, when we take our first job and maybe have to move away from family and live on our own. But there's a couple of other aspects of this that I would like to focus on in particular this evening. And it has to do with the fear of living alone. And I think sometimes the mistakes people make when they're afraid of living alone. Through the years, I've seen a couple of different scenarios where I believe people make some heartbreaking mistakes, and a lot of it is rooted in the fear of finding themselves living by themselves. One scenario is this. I have seen through the years a number of young women who seem to be afraid to live on their own, to be by themselves. And they will jump into relationships with men, live with them, jump into a marriage. And it's not a healthy situation. It's not a good thing for them to get into. They're going to have to compromise their morals. They have to compromise themselves spiritually, have to compromise even what they've been looking for in a companion. But it's so important to them not to be alone that they will do that in order to not have to face that aloneness. And too often what ends up is they find themselves in a mess. In a relationship that may be abusive, a relationship that's certainly unfulfilling, one that ultimately breaks their heart and leaves them even more alone. Now, a similar scenario, but from a very opposite direction, I've also seen occur again and again. I've got to talk about it, and that's with men who many times have been married in a happy marriage for a long time, and their mate dies, and again they're scared to death of being alone. They're afraid of living by themselves, and that fear causes them to very quickly jump into another relationship. And they will marry someone that they haven't really gotten to know that well or that long, that they haven't vetted, might be the right word. And then they find themselves in a relationship that, unfortunately, I have seen time and again, ends in divorce and heartbreak. And not only have they not dealt with the loneliness of being by themselves, they've exacerbated that, because now not only are they alone, but they're heartbroken over this relationship that didn't work out. What I'm trying to say is that there are worse things than being alone. Being alone is a real challenge. It certainly can be, for some more than others. But I just want to stress, don't allow your fear of being alone to cause you to enter into relationships that ultimately are going to compromise you and break your heart. And secondly, when we talk about being alone, I think it's very important to understand that we can live alone and not be lonely. I know a lot of people who live alone and they're not lonely. They have multiple healthy, meaningful relationships with friends and others. I believe that one of the blessings that God gives to us is this extended family that we have in the church. We have multiple brothers and sisters and grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles, and we should savor and enjoy and utilize these relationships. And I see so many folks that do. If you're living alone, don't isolate yourself. It doesn't have to be that way. Put yourself out, seek others, but understand that God has blessed us in the church with this wonderful family and multiple opportunities to be with others and to enjoy other folks. I was reading about a study that was done recently in England, and there was a heartbreaking number of people of retirement age who were saying that they never saw anybody over a 7-day period. Nobody came, they didn't visit with anybody, they had no contact with any human being. And to me, what's so heartbreaking about that is I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that in England, they have pretty well just destroyed Christianity, pretty well stamped it out. And the extended family that we find in Christ, they no longer have, because church has ceased to basically exist in England to a great degree. We're blessed here. We have a large family with lots of people who want to love you, want to help you, want to aid you in any way they can. And so, yeah, circumstances may dictate that we find ourselves living alone, but that doesn't mean that we have to be lonely. And so, as you discuss this evening, just use these observations. One, don't let fear drive you into a fear of aloneness, drive you into unhealthy relationships. And secondly, understand the blessing that we have in, while we may be alone, we definitely don't have to be lonely. God bless you in your discussion this evening. Thank you.
We can do all things together.